Silakan Doktor.
Alright. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. To our honorable speaker for today, Professor Madya Dr. Murshid, our distinguished speaker, and to our distinguished Professor Madya Dr. Wan Marzuki, the director of CADe. Thank you for having us today. And then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to CADe webinar learning session. All right. So today, inshallah, we're gonna talk about a very interesting topic. All right. Since the adult learning method is different from children and their motivation to learn also is vastly different as well. Therefore, inshallah, Professor Madya Dr. Murshid today will cover the topic that related to the skills and art of andragogy. Okay, before I give this floor to our distinguished speaker, let me read a bit about Professor Madya Dr. Murshid. Now, Professor Madya Dr. Murshid started his career as a human resource executive at Honda Malaysia, Sdn Bhd. He joined the Department of Professional Development and Continuing Education, Faculty of Education Studies as a tutor in 2009, and eventually as an associate professor in 2021. He has been widely published as author or co-author of a book chapters, monograph, proceeding, and scores of scholarly papers, abstract related materials in areas such as youth development, extension education, and human resource development. He is also a researcher in Institute of Social Science Studies, UPM, and is involved as researcher consultant with Institute for Youth Research at Ministry of Youth and Sports, Malaysia. Dr. Murshid involved actively in youth work and community development in NGO. Wow, there's a lot of achievement over there, Dr. Murshid. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today, which is Professor Madya Dr. Murshid, to deliver his talk. So, Doctor, the floor is yours.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Alhamdulillah, thank you very much my friends, Dr. Faik, as a moderator for today. So you look handsome today, right? And then for the best one, I would like to say thank you to Kate, especially the director, Associate Professor Dr. Wan Marzuki and his colleague, because I think this is a good platform for us to sharing the practices, especially in teaching and learning. So congratulations, kids. And to all the participants here, right? Good morning. I hope you're doing well, right? So we have our friends here. Okay, Dr. Riz, Dr. Amin Hamzah, Dr. Ramiza from Faculty of Modern Language. I know you very well. And the rest of friends, Dr. Lee Kwan, all right, from Faculty of Medic, Dr. Inyo, okay, Dr. Yasmin, how are you? This is from Bintulu, right? Okay, so the rest of friends, well, thank you very much for joining us for today. All right, inshallah, today the session is very relaxed. I hope that you are enjoy the session because now we are practicing how do we deal with adults. So if you have any question, if you have any inquiries, please you can ask me, no problem. I'm okay with that, right? Vivakan saya sebelum student kita divivakan. Vivakan saya dulu, inshallah. So if you have any question, please, inshallah we'll be sharing the practices. I'm not saying that inshallah I'm all for me. So sometimes maybe you have any good practices you want to share, maybe you have opinion. So I would like to open the discussion with all of you. All right. So without further ado, can we have the exercise today? All right. So I hope that, yeah, I'm happy as a trainer if you can switch on your camera, if you can switch on your camera and also your video, your audio, so it will be more interesting, I hope. But if you have some difficulties or maybe you have a restriction, no problem, it's okay, right? But if you can make it, alhamdulillah, I really appreciate it, because as adult learners, as a youth development the process, of course, we encourage the interaction. If you have that, no, I'm okay with that. Okay, so can we do exercise together? All right, so we can switch on your camera, we can switch on your audio, we can do it exercise together this morning. Okay, can we do it together? So the exercise is simple. If I ask you, how are you today? So you will say that, great. Okay, so grab your hand like this in front of your camera and say, great. It's okay. So get it about people say that, hey, why you are shouting in front of our camera? It's okay. Okay, biar bum-bum gegar pun tak apa. Okay? Apa guna kepuk di ladang jika takut berisi padi? Apa guna digelar pendidik jika takut untuk berbudi? InsyaAllah kita buat yang terbaik. Okay, so we say, how are you today? We say, great. Okay, we do it together. Are you ready? Okay, get ready. 1, 2, 3. How are you today?
Great.
Hey.
All right, thank you so much. Clap your hand. Thank you so much. Thanks for motivating us. It seems like you're attending MLM class. Right? Anda berjaya ya, hati tenang, jiwa tenang ya. Alright, so meaning that he's talking about your motivation today. So inshallah, thank you so much. Dr. Meyong, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Alright, so
I'm
now
good.
we are going to share the screen today. So this is a material for you. Inshallah, I will make magic, right? I will share the materials with all of you. Okay, so now let me share about the content for today. It's talking about the skills and arts of andragogy. Okay, basically, when we talk about andragogy, it's a terminology actually. Okay, it's a terminology representing the adults. All right. So the approach on how do we encourage the adults? So in Malaysia context, right? From the policy, we can discuss that 15 to 30 years old as a young age. All right, it's a young age. So when talking about 30 years old and above, you start talk about the early youth. All right. Sorry, talking about the early adults. Okay, the meaning that the young adults starting at age 30. All right, and of course, we're talking about the adult is a cut across of the age limit. So now it more beyond that. So now we can consider that the golden age also can consider as a adult. So when talking about andragogy, is a principle in discussing about adults. So in the context of teaching and learning, we discuss adult as an adult learners. All right, so as adult learners. So how do we deal with them? How do we try to, be them like a clique in our class? All right, the relationship is just not between lecturers and students, but the relationship is more and beyond that. It seems like a clique and you are working together in a one institution, which is your class. All right, for example. So let me share about this. So before we talk further on this, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Mursyid Arshad, as mentioned by Dr. Faik. So Alhamdulillah, I joined the department since 2009 as a tutor at that time. I was in a private sector. So because my first degree in HRD, Human Resource Development, so I have a working experience in private, and my last position was section head training and development in Honda Malaysia Sdn Bhd, and I started my journey as an academia as an academician since 2009. I pursue my master's degree in extension education, okay, focusing on youth development. And Alhamdulillah, after the master's degree, I worked for the 3 years, and after that, I pursue my PhD. Right. So Alhamdulillah, I did my PhD in 2016. Right. So I'm working in the Department of Professional Development and Continuing Education. Okay, Faculty of Educational Studies. So I'm teaching program development for adult. Right. So this is my undergraduate program. And let me share about my email, mursyid.rashad, m_mursyid@upm.edu.my. So if you have any articles you want to share it, please do it so. All right, I'm happy to learn from all of you. I'm sharing my phone number, my personal contact, and this is my Facebook, Muhammad Mursyid Arshad. I hope that the number of friends will increase today. So please be a friend. Okay, I have Twitter, Mursyid.Arshad. Please do not forget to follow me. And please don't ask me whether I have WeChat account or not. If not, people will call me Budak WeChat. I don't have WeChat account. All right, so this is about myself. Right, so my teaching focusing on especially on the training design and development. Okay, training design and methodology for undergraduate, adult education program development. These both courses is for undergraduate, and for postgraduate, the extension education. Of course, they're dealing with adults. All right, and of course, I'm teaching qualitative research at the time. All right, so this is my teaching experience in UPM. So this is objective for today's discussion. All right. First of all, the objective we try to discuss about how do we enhance, okay, the educator's knowledge of andragogy, meaning that to talk about the adult itself. So in our context today, it's more likely discussing about the adult learner's perspective. And of course, from that, we try to expedite the process of understanding. We creating the awareness, all right? Especially how do we dealing with them, all right? Talking about the assessment, approaches, question, and how do we discuss them in, especially during teaching and learning. So before we talk about the process, we discuss about how do we motivate adults to learn, all right? And of course, how do we deal with them? This is a basic important process before we talk about the educational program, right? Okay, this is our agenda for today. Okay, so just want to share it. I think all of you will be better, right? This is just a sharing. Okay, this is a comments by the adult learners when I teach postgraduate studies, and mostly all of them are adult learners. All right, I think they're older than me. All right, and I have students which is 59 years old, is going to retire soon. Okay, so by right, this is a process that how do they give the feedback, okay, to the instructors. Basically, the adults may give their opinion sincerely, and adults sometimes they express from their heart. This is something that how do we try to penetrate their heart, and how do we try to encourage them together with us. So in the process of teaching and learning, it's just not they learn from us, but also we learn from them. So the teaching philosophy would be, it's just not learn from us, by right, we also learn from the students. So if we apply this principle, if we apply this into our teaching and learning process, inshallah, the process will touch down into their heart. Qalbu, all right, something that they are may not missing the words, okay, something not missing their experience together with you in the teaching and learning process. There's something interesting about the adults. Based on my observation, sometimes maybe people will say that, of course, you are younger and a bit, struggle to win the heart of the adults. Actually, this is a dealing process. How do we encourage the adults to be together with us? How do we create the environment that this is called a sense of partnership? Right, this is called a sense of partnership. This is very important thing. And maybe sometimes say that it's a bit struggle, especially for the young instructors to encourage and help the adults, especially to focus on the study. But right, the process will be more easier if you're creating the ecosystem. So if you want to creating the ecosystem, the norms of the culture in the class, you need to know about how do we tackle our adults. So this is a tips, inshallah, we share it together. I'm not saying that it's from me, right? This is from all the materials related with the process, and of course, a little bit of experience, inshallah, we discuss together. And I think majority of you are here. Maybe you can share your opinion. Maybe you can share your, what do you think that it will be better regarding on use. All right, again, and doubts. So thank you so much, Dr. Riz, for being here. Okay, thank you so much for switching on camera. I'm happy to do that. Motivate sikit lah kan, semangat lah. Hati tenang, jiwa tenang, yep. Alright, so insyaAllah, we discuss it together. Okay, so based on the discussion with the students, we produce our assessment with that. So even though they are busy with the task, they are not fully, meaning that having the study leave, sometimes of them, they are doing a part-time, but right, they can make it something wow, right? Something that may be memorable, something that maybe they appreciate, okay, from their efforts. So we convert it into the book, okay? So let's say, for example, the assessment, they have the quality of assessment, we monitor that process, right? Then by right, they can come out their own publication because they can make as their references, and they really appreciate with this. Sometimes the adults want to see what something that significant learning that can learn from us. This is something that how do we trigger the adults, right? They will participate that. So of course we think that they are busy with their work, right? Because at the time they play their role as a mothers, as a fathers, right? They have the kids, and also they are responsibility to the job. At the same time, they need to come to our class and fulfill the requirement for the session, for the assessment. By right, it's just a likely a perception. By right, the adults can do it if we encourage and try to motivate them to learn, right? This is just a sharing. So it back to this picture. All right, can we do exercise together? Okay, you can switch on your microphone if you want to address it. I really appreciate it. So what you can see from this picture? What say you? What is this? Is it durian, right? Okay, it's a durian. and some of you will say that this is the king of the fruit. Okay, let me do the some exercise. Okay, let's say for example, Dr. Faik, right, our moderator, he has never tasted the durian before this. He didn't know about durian. Let's say for example, he from Zimbabwe. All right, so imagine that Dr. Faik from Zimbabwe. I don't know why Zimbabwe. Okay lah, we upgrade, right? Okay, so let's say for example, Dr. Faik, he has never tasted this fruit, right, durian before. So may I know, can we do exercise together? How do you explain the taste of durian? Meaning that you want to convince Dr. Faik. All right, so Dr. Faik, you will become like a litmus test paper, right, today. All right, so you're being to give the feedback. So how do you try to share with Dr. Faik about the taste of durian? Meaning that after your explanation, Dr. Faik will say that, oh my God, thank you so much. This is a taste of durian. Anyone want to share it? Anyone want to try? Okay, please, I open to the floor. How do we describe the taste of durian? Anyone, please? Please, you want to try it? I'm looking at your smiling faces here, so maybe you want to say something. Ni bukan Piuris, bukan? Piuris kat Langkawi. Alright, silakan.
How about the taste is superb? I don't know.
Can you explain about the taste of durian? Meaning that you want to convince Dr. Faik.
It tastes like heaven, I guess. I don't know.
Like heaven, right? Thank you so much, Dr. Riz. All right, thank you so much for trying that. Okay, the rest of friends? Maybe Dr. Mayong want to try it?
Okay. Well, if you have, just imagine if you have tasted creamy custard. So it is, the smell, the heavenly smell, and also the smoothness, creaminess of a custard is beyond imagination.
Wow.
Ooh. So now
I think I need to leave this early, Dr. Murshid, to find a...
Paling musangking.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mayong. Can you clap hand to Dr. Mayong? Right, thank you so much. Right, that's a great to try to explain, right? But wow, it's a really, the nice word you can describe from that. All right, so Dr. Faik, okay, so now can you elaborate based on the Riz explanation and Mayong? Can you address the taste of durian?
Well, I think I imagine myself from Zimbabwe, right? From Zimbabwe.
Sorry to give the example.
I think it's a very good, very tasty kind of fruits lah that I want to try. Even though, of course, it's my favorite fruit.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much to all participate to give this feedback. Okay, actually, the reality is we know the taste of durian, right? We know very well about the durian. We can describe by own what is a durian taste is all about, right? However, a bit difficulties, right? If you want to talk to others about the taste of durian, can you explain it, the taste of durian to others? So meaning that they can know, oh, this is durian like that, right? Is it easy? Senang tak? Is it easy for you to explain others about durian? Dr. Riz, what do you think? Is it easy, right? You want to tell others about the durian?
Not very easy.
Not very easy, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, I just say that it's sometimes during my childhood I liked it very much, the taste, but now I'm grow older, I feel like I don't like it anymore. The taste changed.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. All right. So Dr. Lee from Faculty of Medic. So I don't know, is it healthy or not? But right. Actually, this I agree with you, Dr. Lee. Meaning that you know about the durian, right? But it's not easy to tell others about durian. That's a reality. This is talking about the two basic components in your life that you need to know from the people, which is to call about the explicit experience, and the second one is a tacit experience. It's very, very important. So what is the explicit experience? It's something like easy for you to transfer, okay, the knowledge. It seems like when you see this, when you read it, it's easy for you to capture the gist and the information from that, right? Dalam bahasa mudah, pendek kata, panjang tak kata apa-apa ya. Pendek kata, benda yang tersurat, meaning that it's written, easy for you to capture the information, right? For example, you give to your students, especially the adult learners, to learn, to give you at least 30 meaning that 5 minutes to read about the paragraph. And after 5 minutes, let them to share and discuss, and they can discuss well, right? From their understanding and from their meaning that from their learning from the words. So meaning that is something like explicit. It seems like you go to IKEA, right? I know that majority of you are happy to go IKEA. Dr. Faik, even during MCO, also he tried his best to get something stuff from IKEA, right? Want to bless his wife, right? To buy beli hati beli jiwa, hati tenang, jiwa tenang, ya. So meaning that you buy the stuff from IKEA, for example. Let's say you buy a chair, okay? So you go back and you're very excited, you open a wrap. So what's the first thing you're looking for? You're looking for the manual, right? So without manual, you cannot do anything, right? So you start to assemble the parts one by one. So at the end, the chair you buy, it seems like a table. Like a table or chair? Of course, like a chair. You like a table, meaning that you are wrongly assemble that. That is talking about explicit experience, meaning that easy to transfer and they can make it. However, on the other hand, they have one special thing that you need to know from adult. It's talking about the tacit experience, which is something hard to communicate. Right? It's talking very deep and it's not easy to transfer. By right, it can be happen if we are together with them, we try to empathy, we try to know about actually what does it mean. So the tacit is something like benda yang tersurat. Alright, it's something hidden. You need to explain it. You need to go and try to find it, and you need to understand it. Because the adults, they will play with the tacit experience. Let's say, for example, maybe our expectation, we feel that the students will complete the assessment by right, by hook, by crook. They need to submit, okay, before their due date, right? For example, by right, you find that 1 or 2 students came to you. Okay, maybe after 3 days after that, maybe you feel that why they are meaning that they are shy, do not say anything, maybe they are not interested. So you start to justify, meaning that they are lazy, right, to submit the assessment, meaning that they're not fulfilling the requirement. But right after 3 days, they send to you the assessment, right? Do you want to accept it? Of course, as a people talking about on the due date, if we're looking on the date, of course we reject it, right? Because they are meaning that is beyond the due date. So maybe you want to say, oh, you are not compliment this this task. But right, how many of you really want to know actually what's the reason they are submit for the late submission? Why? And this is a normal thing. And I have experienced that students said that, sorry doctor, I may not submit this assessment because last night I was struggling with my husband, bergaduh. Alright, berkocoh orang Kelantan kata. Kan nasib baik tak bertumbuk. Alright. So meaning that it's talk about something happen with their family. That's an adult. We can't deny, alright, something like related with them in their life because they are adults and maybe they have problem with their job. Maybe they have a lot of tasks need to do, and by right, because it's not they are trying to put our assessment as a last priority. By right, they try to do our best. Okay, do their best. By right, maybe it seems like tergelincir sikit lah daripada due date. So that is something tacit. You need to know, right? And sometimes maybe people were crying. And of course, your justification said that, oh, maybe she is sad. By right, do you know it's really sad? Maybe you go with them. Why you are crying? Oh, I'm happy because my kids got 12A for her SPM. Oh my God. All right. So this is something like you need to know. That's why in the principle of andragogy, you need to really know about the students and what is behind of their think, or maybe from their related with their emotion and also their personal life. This is talking about the tacit, right? So we need to know. As adults, we need to open the room to understand, all right, the process, which is something like the hard communicate is called tacit experience. It's like a durian, right? So durian is example like the tacit experience. We know about durian. We really know about the taste of durian. However, a bit difficult for us to explain to others about the taste of durian. That is talking about the tacit experience that I give you example for today. All right, so easy for you. So after this, if you eat durian, please remember myself. So all in all, from today, I start to change your thinking, all right, about durian. So please PM me, all right. Jangan makan seorang-seorang. #PM tepi. All right. Okay. So this is about the example that I give to you. It's something tacit. So all this process, why do we need to know about andragogy? All right. So what really we know? Because we're talking about andragogy, it's related with the method and practices, especially in teaching adult learners. Alright, of course, we're talking about the adult learners, the platform would be the adult education itself. So how do we create the ecosystem? How do we create the approach, okay, especially in teaching and learning process, in line with the needs of the participant, which is adult learners, right? That's why we need to know about the andragogy. And of course, the adult education may be defined as all learning experiences, sometimes beyond the school system. So we're talking about the school system, of course, we're talking about the higher institutional system, all right? It can be formal by right. Sometimes in the adult education process would be in a non-formal platform. So what is a formal? Of course, a formal meaning that they're attending to the university, they come to our class, they fulfill all their credits, they fulfill all the, let's say, for example, dissertation, they pass with the thesis, for example, and they will be certified. Okay, so this is something like formal education. However, when talking about the andragogy, we are not trying to put the barrier you need to learn from the formal perspective, but right, we encourage the adult. Okay, furthermore, get some knowledge non-formal platform. So what is a non-formal platform? You can see they have a lot of program, meaning that it's out of the formal system. But right, they can still have certificate. They can upgrading themselves, their skills. For example, they're attending for the reciting Quran class. All right. They come to do some, like say for example, how to bake the cake, the simple one. Because they adults, all in all, they want to talk about their conscious intention. They want to learn. Okay, meaning that it's based on their full personal development. Sometimes it's related whereby they want to solve their own problem. That's why they come to the class. That's why they attend in the session, because they want to solve their own problem. Maybe related with their family, maybe related with the community, maybe related with the job. So you may not force adult to learn, right? You may not first, hey, come, this is compulsory. If not, we'll be fired. Oh. This is something like, people will say that, okay, anda diwajibkan hadir. This is a compulsory. So people, for adult, of course, they're more creative, right? So what's happened if I not attend that? Tadi kan wajib. So kalau tak datang, apa yang berlaku? So the adults, they are talking about their perception. So that's why, if we want to conduct the program related with adults, we need to do the situational analysis. This is very, very important. Let's say, for example, the first week and the second week of the assessment, especially in the, let's say, for example, while you're conducting the class, this is a good thing for you to do some screening. All right. So actually, you need to do a very simple, not the survey, but right, it seems like how do you observe, all right, at least what do they need? We do the situational analysis. So for example, maybe this is your expectation like this, all right? So from the end of this session, I want my student, especially the adult learners, need to do this, and this. This is your expectation. However, you need to know what is a reality, meaning that what is their achievement, what is their capacity, and what is their ability to do that. So in between the expectation and the reality, you know the gap. So this is called situational analysis. How you need to screening your adults' needs, all right, especially your learners. Of course, you are conducting postgraduate class, right? So you need to know it very well. And sometimes maybe in my experience, I've conducted undergraduate class. Also, we have the adults because they are coming as a student, meaning that they are cuti belajar, right? Study leave, but they're attending as a full-time student for undergraduate studies. So we need to know that. So we need to do some screening. This is called situational analysis. It's up to you. Maybe you want to get the survey, maybe from your observation. You need to know actually what is the level they are. All right. So this is something like related with the adults. Let's say, for example, you conduct the session out of formal setting. Let's say you are working with community. You want to have the program for the community development. Okay. Let's say, for example, the extension program or professional activities with the community. You need to know actually what they want. Sometimes majority of the adult education program, it seems like armrest decision, meaning that the armrest, right? It seems like armrest, and then you make decision. You do this, you do this, you do this. However, actually we need to get the encouragement, the participation from the adults. So that's why we need to do some situational analysis. So they're being involved from the beginning of the process. That is a reality on how do we apply the andragogy principle in the education program, right? So this is a principle by Knowles, all right? Pak Cik Knowles kata, this is 4 principle related with this. First, this is a very important thing. You need to involve the adult learners, all right? So meaning that every single assessment, every single activity in the class, okay, every single of the, you know, tutorial, you need to get the involvement, especially for adult learners. You need to plan together with them. So during your first week and the second week, it's a good time for you to do some screening, all right, to know about their capacity, maybe looking on the, you know, the level of understanding. So you try to make that together with them, all right. Of course, we have syllabus. How do you tailor-make the syllabus with their capacities? This is very important, all right. If you fulfill this first, then the process will be good, which is how do you live the experience, the learning experience that you may highlighted in your session. So of course, the adult learners experience, we're talking something like they're providing the basis for the learning activities, something the significant learning you can get, because this is very important to lead for the relevancy. Okay, talking about the relevance and impact to learners' life. How do they can apply into reality? All right. Of course, we give the theory. By right, we need to do lots of example for that, so that they know on how do we apply, how do they apply it into their reality. And of course, at the end, it's called as problem-centered. Adult learning is a problem-centered rather than content-oriented, because they want to solve their problem. They want to get the findings. They want to get the answer. What is the best thing to solve it? That is adult, right? And of course, how do you tailor-make it with the curriculum, with your syllabus? This is talking about the gist, the process. How do we working together with the learners, adult learners, as a clique? All right. So the of course we still having that kind of the position like you are lecturers and postgraduate student as a students, for example. By right, as I mentioned to you in the earlier of the session, it's just not relationship between the instructor and the participants. By right, it's beyond that. Okay, it seems like one of the, seems like a click, you know, you need to do, and of course you will learn from them, okay, at the same time. The characteristic of adult learners, we're talking about the learning needs are different from the kids. Of course, the kids is talking about the more on the teacher-centered learning, something like that. For example, bangun pagi mesti gosok gigi. Lepas gosok gigi mesti mandi. So meaning that the process, it seems like you need to give them direction so that they know on how to. Right? So it's looking on the perspective of the pedagogy. However, talking about the andragogy perspective, okay, of course, adults are pragmatic learners. They want to do by their own. Sometimes you not give the direction, but right, you facilitate the process. It's different, right? The process of the adult, you play your role as a facilitator, not a teacher. So for example, so you ask them, all right, what supposed to do when you wake up early morning? Let them to share their experience. Let them to learn the best practices rather than you follow. Okay, okay, basuh gigi, gosok mesti mandi, lepas mandi mesti pakai baju. So let them to explain about it. That's an adult. So sometimes during the sharing process, they will get and to learn from each other. Meaning that the process is just not learn from us, but right, they also learn from the members. Okay, this is called a communities of practice process. Meaning that you are learn from that, you will become expert. Meaning that you're moving out from the novice understanding to become an expert. That is a characteristic of adult learners. And relatively, they are difficult to accept the change. All right. Of course, they have the school of thought. After 40 years of the activity, you want to give them something new. Of course, they will reject it. All right. So this is something like, how do you make them a successful learners? And of course, as a successful learners, you are trying to be able to direct themselves to pursue the learning. You give the direction. You try to help the process of understanding the direction. They need to have understanding on the concept. This is very, very important. At the beginning of learning, you need let them to have the clear understanding about the concept. This is very, very important. All right. So what's the concept? If they understand the concept, they know the direction. Of course, if they know the direction, they have a clear picture on the what they're going to do. All right. So they will still saying that today is better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better than today. All right. Because they clear picture. Hari ini lebih baik pada semalam dan esok lebih baik daripada hari ini. But if your adult learners not clear with the concept of the learning, what going to do? They feel that semalam telah berlalu, hari ini aku keliru dan esok bukan urusanku. They feel that today is getting worse than yesterday, and of course tomorrow they have no hope at all. Because they have no direction. Okay? So if you lead, meaning that you try to help the adult learners by right, you not give the clear picture, the clear concept, they will feel that this is nothing from them, right? Nothing for them. Biarlah hari ini telah berlalu dan esok lebih keliru dan dosa bukan urusanku. So you need to know about the direction, how do they pursue their learning, alright? And of course, let them to bring, meaning that something like the vast experiences. So meaning that it's just not like a single experience that you thinking, by right, they can think from the various way. Maybe when they do read the assessment, they know, then they learn from the experience. Maybe from the presentation of the students, by right, they also learn from their friends. So the process is a vast experience. It's not in a one-way ticket. Okay, dia bukannya satu proses dikatakan pergi tak kembali. Bukan. Itu macam lagu Rabani. Nak poster kan. Okay. Dengarlah lagu apa? Yusuf Tayyub. Kan. Yusuf Tayyub sekarang dia popular kan. Dekat radio kan. So maknanya bila ada iklan tu menunjukkan maka Ramadan nak tiba. That's is adult perspective. Alright. Adults is talking about the how do we embed it in the reality. So the vast experience is very, very important. Give them a significant learning. So they can capture the information. They will capture something valuable. And inshallah, you can seems like a guidance for their life, right? For example, you're attending to the session, you know about durian, right? So you remember, oh, Dr. Murshid talk about durian. So this is significant learning, meaning that adult does not learn from the explicit, but right, you need to know the adults from the tacit experience, all right? This is something like how do you live the something significant, and they have the readiness to learn, of course, and are highly motivated to pursue the learning that will solve their problem, because you may not force them to learn, but right, they are from their heart, they come to learn about it and try to fulfill, and of course, at the end, they want to solve their own problem. All right. So until this discussion, have any question, or maybe you want to share your experience based on the point that I shared to you? Anyone want to share it, their experience? Maybe we can have the session like we can learn, all right, from your experience. So anyone want to give opinion, or maybe you have question? Ada soalan tak? Setakat ni okay? Cemerlang? Right. So if you have any question, please let me know, right? Okay. So of course, we need to motivate our adults to learn. All right. So the element, the component of the motivation is very, very important. So of course, this is 6 major factors that I can share to you, especially how do we motivate adult learners? Meaning that how do we motivate adult to learn? First of all, it's talking about the attitude, right? So the attitude may develop from their understanding on the concept. That's why they need to understand the concept. Malam ini gelap, tiada bulan, tiada bintang. Apa maksudnya? So tonight is very dark, no star, no moon. What does it mean? Apa maksud dia? Riz, apa maksud dia, Riz? Dr. Riz. Okay, apa maksud dia? Malam ini gelap, tiada bulan, tiada bintang.
Tak faham.
Macam mana?
Very symbolic. I don't understand actually.
Don't understand? Yeah, actually, this talking about this going to rain, right? This is dark, right? No star, no moon. Okay, so that's why you need to have the clear understanding. This is a good example, Dr. Lee. Sometimes you are not giving the direct interpretation. Sometimes maybe they're thinking likely like, alright, this. But this is a process as a facilitator. Remember, right? Our role is not like a teacher. We facilitate the understanding. Actually, this talking about this. You try to have the clear understanding. So that is talking about the concept. Alright? This is very, very important. You need to know, right? Ku genggam erat jemariku di depan mukamu. Apa konsepnya? So meaning that the talking people want to punch his head, right? So this is something like how do you significantly explain? Okay, you need to have the adult learners must have the clear picture on their learning. This is one thing. Okay, this is talking about the concept. The second one, the concept will be enhance the understanding based on the information. So you provide the information, okay, and of course you need to consider the emotion. Right? Sometimes if you give all the input by right at the same time, you need to see how do they learn, how do they experience from your learning, from the process. So this is back to the emotion. Tak salah untuk bertanya khabar. All right, maybe in the middle of the process, you can do the activity. Or maybe if you see that your participant likely maybe they are too stressed talk about the discussion, maybe you can lay down the the discussion. Maybe you need to do some rephrasing, meaning that you try to give the very simple explanation so that they can understand it. So all these three components, the concept, when you give the information and you take care of the emotion, they will creating the attitude as a learners. All right, this is number one. Any question? Right? Or maybe you want to share your experience, please let me know, right? The second one, they need to fulfill their need. All right? They are, of course, the adults, we want to fulfill their needs. So, of course, you talk about the internal force, meaning that they come from them. Their direction, okay, of course, the direction they want to learn. By right, because you are facilitating the process, you need to be in line with their needs, and also at the same time you want to embed it, okay, the content, all right, into the process. This called a need. All right, so it must be based on the needs of the adults. So you will be in line together with them. And of course, the process of the learning, how do we motivate adult learners? Talking about the stimulation. How do we encourage them? How do we stimulate them? Right? So it's a lot talking about how do they change the perception. It's not easy. It seems like Kurt Levin perspective, right? Okay, something like this a freeze. How do you unfreeze that ice and try to do another freezing based on your shape that you want? So of course, adults, they have the experience. All right, they have the experience, and from their experience, they will develop their perception and their belief. It's called a school of thought. So how do you change the school of thought? So it's based on how do they change their perception. Because the perception is very, very important. All right. So because the perception, if you repeat the perception every day, it can become reality. This is a process because a human, you talk about their perception and interpretation. All right. And of course, how do at the same time you provide their experience, okay, with the environment. So meaning that you more likely encourage them to learn by them, meaning that from their experience, meaning that they learn from their experience. Okay, so you can refer from the work or talking about the meaning that experiential learning. You learn from the experience and you feel that. And sometimes the learning from the experience just not because you learn from your past experience. By right, you can encourage the adult to learn from the others' experience. All right, this is called stimulation. And the number 4 is talk about the effect. Effect is talking about qalb. Okay, dalam hati, kalbu. It's talking about the emotion, talking about the experience, talking about the value. Talking about nilai, bukan nilai 3. Nilai 3 tunggu PKP tamat boleh mentas negeri. Right, ramai yang bergigil nak shopping nak raya. Alright. So it's talking about the value. It's related with the core. Alright, from the heart. Because you need to create the awareness. You need to, of course, as educators, we try to encourage them to have the clear understanding about actually what is our agenda for the teaching and learning process. So it will impact to the effect. And of course, we're talking about the feeling. All right. So the adults need attention. You can pay the concerns with them. All right. So it's not something like very like something like I don't want to ask about him because he come to my class. So I just want to deliver the content. That's it. By right, as an adult learners, of course, the delivering their content to your student is very important. But at the same time, you need to concern with them. You create the passion, you create their passion to learn. At the same time, also you are motivating yourself, creating the passion to share the information with them. So this process, feeling, concern, and passion will develop the effect. All right. And of course, we're talking about the competence. All right. So of course, as a people, naturally they strive for effective interaction. So to develop the competence of your adult learners, you need to have the effective interaction. So how do we have the effective interaction? Is just not from the verbal, but right, we know also to talk about from the non-verbal interaction. How do you try to convince them? Of course, as a man, as a guy, you can of course you can tepuk bahu dia lah, shoulder. Okay, good, you are very good. So of course in the meaning that online learning, you can approach them like say for example from your space, from the reaction. Okay, this is something like on how you touch down their interaction. It's very, very important, right? And of course, last but not least, you're talking about the reinforcement. So reinforcement is something like how do you increase their probability of response? So have lots of interaction with them. So as adult learners, it's very important, let them to give their idea, their opinion. Something like maybe they want to share it, but we don't give that opportunity. Maybe they're demotivated. But right, if you're open to the flaws and let discuss from their experience, so this is talking about the element of the reinforcement. It's a part of the how you motivate the adult learners, okay, in your class, right? So based on this sharing, have you any question, or maybe you want to share your opinion, or maybe you want to share your experience regarding on this? How do you motivate adult learners? Anyone want to share it? Please, I open to the floors. Maybe you have something like something memorable event with your student, especially the adult student. Anyone? Right? So if you have any question or you want to share it, please let me know, right? Inshallah, we can discuss it together. Okay. So this is something like related with the preparation. Okay. You need to prepare. If you have the plan, you have plan to success. If you don't have plan, meaning that you facing difficulties when go through the process. So that's why in talking about the andragogy, you need to also have some preparation. As an educators, you need to identify what something beneficial for adults. Try to think, all right? What was something that maybe benefits to them? So aha moment, when you're creating the aha moment to your participant, especially the adults, they will pay attention. Oh, yeah, really? Aha. Okay, this talking about something beneficial. It's number one. And of course, as an andragogy perspective, you're talking about know our subject well. Of course, you need to deliver well because you're expert on this. By right, you need to understand what we are going to teach based on their capability and capacity. Maybe you may not conduct the session with them with the same wavelength or maybe the same style. Maybe you need to adapt, all right, with their emotional situation or maybe looking on their struggling for them to understand. So maybe you need to do some rearrangement of the way. How do you deliver the process? This is very important. And it's okay, you can have the story, you can share the story. Sometimes like maybe the participants want to know about your experience, you can share it. It can be like a joke, tapi lawak yang apa bermanfaat lah, bukan lawak yang lawa. So you can ask your students, right? How deep you love your student? It seems like a river, right? Apa beza sungai dengan awak? Tanya student, kan? Apa beza sungai dengan awak? Sungai mengalir keluar, awak mengalir ke hati saya. Cia-cia lah kan. So this is something like how do you creating the session, right? With the joke and the activities, right? So what's the similarities between you and mosquito? Because your student always keep asking questions, so you just get the reader like this, right? What's the similarity between you and mosquito? Apa persamaan awak dengan nyamuk? Dua-duanya mengganggu tidur malam saya. Yalah, awak asyik mesej saya je tanya soalan. Alright. So this something like maybe how do you do the analogy? Maybe you can get it from your research, something like interesting. Alright. For example, I want to share my experience, right? While I conducting the research for Mak Rempit. Okay? I'm studying Mak Rempit. Do you know Mak Rempit? Illegal races, right? This is my experience. So at the time, it's not easy, to penetrate, the Mak Rempit group. It's not easy because I'm not Mak Rempit, but right, I want to learn about Mak Rempit. So until one time saying that, bang, why are you here? Yeah, I'm a researcher. I want to know about Mak Rempit activities. Okay, bang, come. Tonight we have the racing competition, so you can join us. All right. So I get ready. I don't have a motorcycle. I borrow my father's motorcycle. So I park motorcycle, okay, with the group, and they are ready, to start the racing competition. Right, they start ready, eh? Of course, we exciting to see what's happened for the next. Suddenly, the police came in. Police datang. Agak-agak apa yang berlaku? What do you think? Of course, they run away, right? At that time, I thinking that I can stay here. I have the letter. I have a letter from police. I have a letter from university. I don't have any problem if I can stay here. By right, I choose to run away together with them. Alright. Okay lah, lari. Do you know, dalam ramai-ramai yang lari, polis kejar saya. The police only chasing me. I don't know what's the criteria why police chasing me. Maybe looking my face is like a BBNU, budak baru nak up. the standard motorcycle, because of course my father's motorcycle, police can catch me, right? So I run away and police still follow me at the back. He's chasing me. Oh my God, how can I hide? Of course, all of my rapists looking at me, right? Oh, police is chasing this boy. Okay, never mind. I go to mini town, right? The mini road. Still police at the back. So I decided to live away together with my motorcycle at the small bush at my left. I still remember that. Boom. All right, I stayed there. And then after a second, police came in. I still remember the words from police. Mana budak ni? Where is the boy? So I keep shy. And then police go away. Oh, selamat. The next day, I went to the Mak Rempits group. So everyone was shocked. Hey, why are we here? Because they thought that I was catched by police, and of course I'd be detained in the jail, in the lockup for the certain period, all right? Because they have urine tests and so forth. I explained my experience together with them. So starting the beginning of the activity, starting at that point, I know who is the dealer, who is the bonzer, who is the jockey, who is the foreman, the mechanic. I know all the process, where they do the activities, because they have been developed the trust. All right. So based on their study, I can explain that actually the meaning of being a mak rempit is being a king of the road. They want to be they want to get the attention, no? They want to be a king of the road. And one of the reason why they're saying the king of the road, meaning that they can hide from the police. Let's say for example, Faik, he claiming he is a real mak rempit, by right has been caught by the police. Sebulan kena bahan. So meaning that the experience you can share in the class, the student will pay attention like you, right? I'm sharing the experience and all of you looking on my story. That is example, the simple way. How do you creating the session with something like more interesting, all right? And this is just a story because I want to apply. How do you use the piece of research information? How do you explain your experience? And personally, the instructor is able to demonstrate it. It's very, very important. All right. Okay. So of course, as educators, you need to know your limits and of course the consequences. So please, you need to know. Maybe they are level. Maybe they are. Let's say for example, your participant likely they are supporting staff. So of course, you need to have the wavelength, the explanation suitable for the supporting staff, right? So easy for them to catch your attention. At the same time, you can learn from them. Okay, so you be together equally like them. This is on how we play with adults. All right. Okay, so this is how needs promote desire. This is very important. We're talking about the individual experience. So we're talking about the history of learning, the current situation. Kenapa jadi macam ni ya? It's okay, tak apa. Alright. Setting here. Right. So we're talking about the feeling. We're talking about how do you feel about this, and of course from the feeling, they start to develop their needs, want to get the goals, meaning that at the end they want to learn about this. So they are pressuring themselves. So this is something like how do you promote desire? You encourage, it seems like you put the adrenaline spirit, okay, to learn about this. That is a role of as educators. It's just not giving them the content. By right, you need to motivate them, okay, individually. All right, maybe you approach maybe in a group. Maybe your approach will be go to individual approach. So this is on how you promote the desire. All right. So this is something like a special tips that I want to share to all of you. Right? How do you think about this, especially in understanding and consideration in teaching adult learners? Right? So first of all, our instruction can be understood and followed by most of learners. This is very, very important. You need to have the clear understanding. Of course, your topic will be sophisticated. It's a bit hard for them to understand, but try to explain it well. Okay, so that they say that, oh, okay, I know about this, right? So the instruction can be understood. This is very, very important. Number two, let the perspective of discussion is more realistic, meaning that it's applicable. Okay, meaning that senang dicapai. Bukan macam lagu Eliana, tak terjangkau akalmu. Yang tu pening. And so meaning that you need let them to understand about it. If they have a clear understanding, they know about the direction. Dia bukan macam lagu Hakim Rusli, tergantung sepi. Tak tahu apa benda kan. Kan? So they need to know about this. Okay? Bila tergantung sepi, yang tu jadi lembah kesepian. Hakim Rusli juga. You didn't know how you going to do for next, right? So it must be realistic. And the expectation for what we are offering them to learn. So of course, we can share our expectation. By right, please do not push them to meet our expectation. By right, we need to adjust our expectation with their level and capacity. This is very important in the adult learning perspective, right? Adapting our instruction to our learners' level of skills, development, and experience. So that's why you can try to adapt the instruction. Maybe you try to give the example, play lots of example so that they can know about the process. And of course, you are continuously consider our learners' perspective. If they have an opinion, if they want to share about something that based on their understanding, let them to share it. So you can get one of the, it seems like a point of sharing. It's talking about the point, meaning that from your understanding and their understanding. So from the point you work together. So you get their intention, right? And of course, you can express the instruction, okay? By that, you can have the, like say for example, it's not like the static engagement. By that, sometimes you need to put the energy. Maybe you want to say something, wow, or maybe you can put something like animation in supporting. It's talking about your teaching aids. So how do you creating the environment of the session, right? And of course, you provide for learners a way to comprehend what has been taught. So sometimes maybe you can ask them or get them to share the experience from their understanding. Okay, so this is on how do we encourage the participation as in the class, especially while you conduct the session. Although the session is a formal platform, by right you creating the process like a non-formal situation. Let them happy come to your class and share the thoughts together. All right? Okay. Any question until now? Have you any question? Please, or you want to share your experience, especially on understanding the adult learners. Maybe Dr. Lee, you want to share something, especially based on the sharing. Maybe you want to say something, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, Dr. Munshi, sometimes adults learner, they tends to, what we say, abuse the kindness and understanding of you as an educator. So they tends to repeat the mistake, and sometimes they tends to ignore your advice because they know that you will pass them somehow rather. But you as an educator, maybe you are not satisfied. You will say that, how come an adult learner have this style of attitude? And you have a higher expectation. But this type of adult learner, how you deal with them?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you totally. Sometimes maybe they have the perception, saying that, okay lah, I can do this. By right, the lecturers can give marks for me, right? So this is something like maybe based on their school of thought. They feel that the adults would be more something like exclusive privilege, for example, right? As a student, by right, you need to encourage them to look on the context itself. So that's why this is very important to know about the level. Am I right? This situational analysis helps in the process. So I agree with you totally. And some of the students will think like that. So of course, as an instructor, as an educator, we try to help them, all right, to see that this is your goal, by right. At the same time, you need to see their efforts, and also their approach. All right. So this is something related with the process of the adults. All right. I think it's a good observation, Dr. Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So now it's the time is 11. We can have a break. We can take 5. You can smell a coffee. So you can bring your coffee in front of your laptop, no problem. All right. Okay. So enjoy your meal, or maybe have a drink. Okay. And please do not forget to smell the coffee. Inshallah, we'll be back at the 5 minutes. So is it okay, Dr. Faik?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Mushid. So I think we have finished our first session. It's a very lively session. So maybe we can have a break around 5 minutes. Then we get back to you back. Right, Dr. Mushid?
All right. Inshallah, we break for 5 minutes, right?
Okay.
Okay. So please don't forget to smell your coffee. All right. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I think Dr. Mushid, are you ready? Maybe we can continue our session. I think
Sure,
we're
inshallah.
also excited to hear more about it. All right, Dr. Mushid, all yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faik. The voice and style, it seems like Datuk Johan Jaafar, TV3, Semedia Prima moderator. Thank you so much, Dr. Faik. Okay, so we're back to discuss about this. I hope that all of you have done enjoying your coffee or Milo, so on and so forth. Maybe some of you eating nasi lemak. Okay, so whatever you do, I hope that you enjoy the session. If you have any inquiries, if you want to share your thought and experience, please do it. All right, I really appreciate it. Okay, so talking about the 4 cornerstones, especially in Andragogy. First of all, is a talk about expertise. All right. So for example, as educators, we know about what is our expertise. Let's say, for example, Dr. Dahlia, right, is very expert in economic and management, for example, writing the case study. Dr. Dahlia, right? So he's very popular, right? Oh, pakar case study.
Okay, sir. I'm the only one.
Alright, pakar case study UPM, for example. So meaning that you need to show the expertise. While you're talking about the process of teaching and learning, the adults is searching for their expertise. Alright. So of course, when you have that kind of this, so the adults will encourage them to motivate them to learn. And especially during the process, you can also highlighting their expertise. Okay, meaning that without get rid about their experience, get rid about their the knowledge, but right, you appreciate them during the process. The adults like that, right? You need to have that kind of highlighting their expertise, especially in the process and dealing with adults. And show your empathy, right? It's very important. So when you show your empathy, you feel that the adults will think that you are take care with them, right? At the same time, the students as adult also will take care of you, all right? They will concerned about it. So this is called empathy. Okay, so for example, let's say for example for my class, right? So they are voluntary to do that. I want to be record. Okay, doctor, today, next week, today and this week I will come and volunteer. So meaning that because the empathy, we creating the empathy because we give the reason why. So that's why the adults are going like that. And talking about the enthusiasm, you're talking about the spirit to learn. And of course, the spirit of learning can be from the clarity. It's very important. You need to have the clear picture of it. All right. So if they have this kind of 4 cornerstones based on expertise and your empathy with them and show your enthusiasm, all right. At the same time, they also will pay the enthusiasm from their, from their commitment in this class. And last but not least, the clarity is very important. Okay, in the cornerstones of adult. It's back to the hierarchy, all right? Back to the Maslow hierarchy. I know that some of you are familiar with the Maslow hierarchy, right? It's based on the needs. It's back to this. And let me share about the Maslow idea, talking about the needs. And of course, the needs of the Maslow hierarchy will be based on the level. All right. First, they need to fulfill the basic needs. All right. So we're talking about the basic needs. As an instructor, we try our best, to facilitate the process to fulfill the basic needs of the participant, like adults. All right. If they feel that this is more comfortable with them, they are okay with that, then we start to move out for the next level, looking on the psychological, looking on the social needs, and last but not least, their self-esteem and the self-actualization. What they are going to be. All right. So let's say, for example, their aim, their dreams. So they need to fulfill the basic one. So of course, we're talking about the social perspective. We talk about water, food, shelter, so on and so forth. But in the process of learning in the class, what is the basic needs? We talk about let's say, for example, the class. We talk about the size of the class. Is it comfortable with them? Or maybe let's say, for example, you conduct in online. So to what extent they are comfortable with the style of learning? Maybe they are not reachable because of the internet connection. Maybe they may not switch on the camera because of the internet connectivity is low. So you need to fulfill all these psychological needs. All right. So maybe you can give the option with them. Maybe you can record and share with them and not to say that if you are not come to my class, we will not get attendance. So maybe you need to have flexibility on this. All right. So when they are having that kind of this, they will creating the very important thing that they put the sense of belonging. They will sincerely tell you. They will sincerely give the commitment during the process of learning. So because they really love with their decision, And of course, we're creating the self-esteem, and last but not least, the self-actualization. What they're going to be. All right. So of course, at the end, they're based on what they want. So that's why they come to the session, and we try to approach them in a proper way so that they know, they have a clear understanding about the actualization. Okay, the self-actualization. I want to give you some example. All right. So have you seen this picture? So I want all of you to see this picture. All right. I give you 30 seconds. Try to explain to me and describe what you see from this picture. All right. So I give you 30 seconds to see this picture and try to describe what you see from this picture. All right. Right. So anyone want to say that? What you can see from this picture?
A young lady and an old lady.
All right. Thank you so
Young
much.
lady is side profile. Old lady can see the eyes, can see the nose and the mouth. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mayong. Excellent. So you can see both. Okay. How many of you are you agree with Dr. Mayong?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. So now you can see the picture, right? And maybe some of you say that this is only the old lady. And maybe some of you say that this is a young lady, right? Okay, we can do exercise together. All right. Okay, I want to ask you, how many of you see this picture as the old lady? Can you say hi? The old lady? How many of you see this picture as an adult, as an old lady? Can you say hi? Ada? Okay.
Yeah.
The second one. How many of you see this picture as a young lady? Can you say hi? The young
Hi.
lady.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, so you can see the difference between the old lady and young lady, right? Why people will look on young lady? This is a fitrah manusia. This is a reality, right? People want to see look beauty, right? Look useful. Kan? Kalau tak adalah produk aku putih, barulah putih. Kan? Semua nampak muda kan? You want to see that you are okay in the use, right? Say for the use appearance. That's a reality. People will see this as a young lady, right? This is example, right? So that we say, how many of you say the young lady? Hi. So meaning that, of course, the majority of you want to look this is a young lady. This is a fitrah manusia. All right. How many of you see this picture with the both perspective? Meaning that you can see the young lady and the old lady. Can you say hi? How many of you can see both? Say hi.
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 All right. Thank you so much. And how many of you cannot see anything? You didn't see anything. How many of you didn't see anything? Tak tengok apa-apa, tak nampak lah. Tengok 10 kali pun tak nampak. 3 kali Jumaat lah tu. Tak ada, saya gurau ya. Alright, meaning that this is something like significant for you. This is a perception. How do you see the adults? The same picture, the same person, but you can see from a different angle. You can create the interpretation with this. Alright? Okay, maybe some of you say that, this is a young lady. They don't believe that they have the old lady. But right, for those who are see there is an old lady, by right, they not believe with the young lady because they didn't see about the young lady, young lady's view. Alright? So this is talking about the perception. How do we justify our adults? Alright, our adult learners. That is a good exercise, meaning that you may not counted that number of the adults, but right, at the same time, you may not justify that. Tak semua benda boleh diukur, boleh dikira. Tak semua boleh dikira, boleh diukur. Alright, not everything can be counted counts, and not everything counts can be counted. So meaning that they have uniqueness. The adult, they have the uniqueness. They have something like ideographic interpretation regards belonging to the adult. So they have benda yang sisi positif, sisi negatif, dan dia ada keunikan. That is on how you see adults. Because in terms of process teaching and learning in the class, for example, right? They have level of understanding based on the student's perspective. Of course, you can have the same table. You have the same lecturer, the same instructor or facilitator. You have the same classroom, or maybe you can have the same online platform. But right, the level of acceptance of the adults is different. I want to share to all of you, the normal situation, we're talking about normal distribution, normally, they have the one group, they are very talented, they are very, meaning that always keep at the first, it's called innovator group. So what is an innovator group? They have number of that, but the smaller number of this. All right, they have the number, but it's very small. Let's say, for example, you talk about ABC, they start to think XYZ. All right, they start to solve All right, how I can define XYZ? So this is called innovator. Cepat, they capture and try to grab the opportunity and go it. That is an innovator, but they have small group in the class. You can wear it, all right? The second group is called early adapter. So what is an early adapter? Okay, as adult learners, this seems like innovator, by right, maybe they are a little bit slow compared to innovators, but they still at the good path. All right, so meaning that when talking about ABC, okay, maybe they start to think how about D, E, F, G. Right, instead of innovator to talk about X, Y, Z. All right, by right, you need to aware that majority of them in the middle. Either you are early majority or late majority. What's the difference? So maybe early majority, you do it faster, meaning you can capture it, you can do and you can practicing it earlier rather than the rest of the friend. This is called late majority. By right, you need to aware they have a certain group, all right, of the adult learners, they have a laggard. Laggard meaning that it seems like they are like try to look and see. Okay, they can change, but we're very late. Later on, they try to see the example. Okay, that is a laggard. So how do we, our roles as an instructor, as a facilitator, remember we are not the teacher, right? We are facilitator to facilitate the process. At the end of the process, okay, as a good facilitator in the process, you are going to change, okay, the structure of the design. It's not like this, and of course it seems like a binomial, right, situation like this, right? Okay, it can be like this. So your roles here, you want to give the highest number people who are in the innovators category and early adopters. So meaning that you want to bring the change, you know, you try to play your role as a change agent in the class to be like this, right? Meaning that you are encouraged the adult to learn, okay, as soon as possible. That's why in this process, you need to have fulfilled these 4 roles. This is very important as an adult educators, right? So you can jot down in your writing. First, you need to be as an agent of change. So what's the agent of change? Meaning that you're bringing something change from their perspective, from their attitude, and maybe from their skills. From because of you, they will change this. This is called agent of change. It's very, very important. Okay, first you play your role as an agent of change. The second one, you become a process helper. You play your role as a process helper. You help, okay, and facilitate the adult learners. Okay, if they are not clear with this, you give the clear understanding. It's not to help them to finish up their assessment, not, but you help them to give their explanation and direction so that they can create their own creativity, okay, to create, you know, the assessment, for example. So the number 2 is a process helper. The third one, you need to be a resource linker. Okay, you need to be a resource linker. So what is a resource linker? So resource linker, so meaning that, let's say for example, they want to get this information, by right, you are not providing this information, but you try to link, okay, the process with others that they have the information. Why not you contact this? Why not you help this? Why not you try to discuss with this? So you try to open up the way, you know. It seems like deny, kita menyusui deny, orang yang pertama tu buka jalan kan. That is a process. Alright, you are resource linker. And last but not least, okay, you become a problem solver. You try to solve the problem of your adult learners. Alright, so meaning that at the end of the session, because of the content you share, and maybe from the process they are throughout for the 40 weeks, let's say for example with you, and maybe can go beyond, right? Can go beyond relationships, just not stop at the class, maybe you can go beyond. So at the end, you become as a problem solver. All right. So because of that, they can solve the problem. They know the answer. All right. So this is a process that 4 types of the process that will expedite the process to change the direction like this. All right, like a normal distribution like this. Okay. So, however, getting worse situation, we don't want like this, meaning that we're creating the situation that we put the small number of the innovators, early majority, but you can see the big number of the late majority and the laggards. We don't want like that. All right. So, because that is our role here to bring a change. That is a very important thing that we need to know. The concept as a facilitator, the concept of as a instructor in helping the adult to learn. Right? This is very, very important. All right. Any question about this? Right? Can you capture the information from this example that I give to you? Right? Any question? Can you see that? Are you aware that in the class, especially when dealing with adults, So you can see that kind of this student, right? Like this. Yeah, you can wear, right? So of course, your strategy is you want to make it more adult learners be like a innovators, early adopter, and at least the early majority student. Okay, is it clear? Any question? Ada soalan setakat ni? Tak ada Alright. So if you have any question, now we can move next to the discussion. Of course, we're talking about the pedagogy and andragogy. Alright. So pedagogy is talking about the children learning process, meaning that if you give the direction, you give the instruction, and they follow it. And later on, they will start to do what is the significant learning from the activities. Compared to adults, there are lots of the sharing experience. They're talking about you not to learn from your instructor, but right, you will learn to each other. So you're encouraging the process because the adult is unique, right? It's a very unique. And of course, while talking about the andragogy perspective, is talking about an arts. They are sebuah seni, right? So how do you deal with them? How do you try to encourage them? And what is the strategy, the best strategy? And of course, they will apply to all the andragogy classes or related with adults in the future. It must be tailor-made according to the level. That's why andragogy, they encourage the process of interaction. So we're talking about the learning styles of adult. They have 5 main domain talking about the styles of adult. First is a copying the arts. Because the adult will learn, they will expedite the process of learning based on the role model. Based on whatever they can see. They have something like example that easy for them to imitate. Alright, so especially the imitation from the best practices. They're talking about the real life and of course talking about the situation. So how do we give that kind of the examples? Let's say for example, you want to conduct the training program for the farmers. Alright, of course the farmers, the old men, the adults, right? So how do you give them something that is significant from your learning? Maybe you can bring them to see the reality. You can do some method. You can say, so for example, you can do the demo method. You demonstrate in front of them to show it. And maybe you can bring them to see, okay, this reality, for example, the farmers, right? You bring them to Skinchan to see that, oh, okay, this is a best practices for managing the paddy field. Oh, going like this, you can produce the high number of the tons every year, for example. So while they see the reality, it's easy for them to learn. This is called copying the art. So that's why in the process of learning, you can use the video, you can use the testimony. Okay, so easy for adult learners to capture the information. Number 1. Number 2 is talk about the participation. To what extent that you are participate with encouraging the participation from the participant, especially the dialogue, and of course you being part and collaborate together with them. Okay, maybe you join the assessment together. Okay, maybe you do the one session, meaning that let's say for example the discourse activities, and because I did, they will create the trust, meaning that you as a instructor, as a facilitator, you have trust to your student, right? Your adult student. At the same time, your adult student also they having trust with you as a instructor or facilitator. Okay, this is talking about the participation. Alright, the third one is talking about the acquisition. Okay, so let's say for example, the acquisition would be based on the explanation. How do you give and try to get the content to them? Alright, so you try to relate the practicality, the reality with the content you want to deliver. It must be tailor-made. So this is called acquisition. Alright, so they will say capture, oh, I understand about this. Right, and of course you can do some experimentation. Experimentation meaning that is talking about the critical reflection, talking about the explicit learning. Okay, maybe you can get the opinion. Okay, for example, experimentation. Who is the most beautiful lady in Malaysia? Mira Filzah or Nilofa? Mana lebih cantik? Mira Filzah ke Nilofa? Anyone? Dr. Dahlia. So, mana lebih cantik? Mira Filzah ke Nilofa? Dr. Inyo. Siapa lebih cantik? Dr. Azni. Siapa lebih cantik? Ke Dr. Azni lebih cantik daripada dia orang?
Dr.
So,
Mursyid,
ya.
patutnya tanya lelaki, Muhammad Faiz tu.
Kalau tanya Dr. Faik sampai malam dia bagi jawapan. Recorded session.
Tak boleh ni live kan, jawab nanti di luar.
Dia seminggu nasi kedai aku dah jawab. Right. So of course you give the interpretation, right? Some of you said Nilofa, some said Mira Filzah. Alright. Kenapa Nilofa? I Lofa you. Alright. So this is something like the perception. Okay. But right, of course you ask me, I don't want to say that Manova or Minofisa say, of course I say that my wife is most beautiful. Kan? Sebelum tidur tadi, sebelum turun tadi tanya dia, apa beza rambutan dengan awak? Apa pula? Rambutan manis, awak sentiasa manis di hati saya. Boleh buat macam tu pula kan? So it's something like, how do you do the experimentation? So you can give an example and let your adults learners to give their opinion. Okay, this is a strategy. It can be like that. And you encourage them to discover. Try to put them as a something like them to learn based on their by their own. Meaning that you put something like meaning, deep understanding based on how do they discover the things. You just facilitate the process. No need to give the instruction. You just facilitate the process, let them to develop the culture, develop their thinking, develop the thought. Alright? This is called discovery. So meaning that they are less meaning that with you, but right, they are having a good chances for them to explore. Okay? This is called discovery. Right? This is 5 learning styles of adults that maybe you can use this as a strategy in approaching the adults, right? And of course, you can use, the technology. By right, you can use for example, the platform, the online platform. You can use the gamification in the session. You can use the interactive, meaning that software. It's up to you. They have lots of things, right? You can explore it. I think CADe also providing the many things related. Even though you can see in Putra Blast, they have many applications you can apply it during your teaching and learning. But right, this is process in helping them to learn. Meaning that I want to share the ideology, right, from Faculty of Education Studies, from the idea of the future clinic, future classroom. We talk about the technology enhanced talaki. So meaning that the technology itself will enhance the talaki process. Talaki can be go on as usual, but right, the technology will enhance it, right? So of course, the technology, right, basically they will guide you, right? Will help the adult learners to learn. It's not controlling them, right? So of course, we're talking about the technology, meaning that they cut across of the many factors. Let's say, for example, geographical factors is not a main issue. As long as you can have the internet connection, for example. So it seems like an analogy like you are driving with ways, for example, turn right, turn left, turn right, turn right, turn right. Sampai stress kawan tu jam ini. Kan? Kita should turn left, kan? So it's talking about the analogy that you can reach the destination. Okay, without waste, you can still reach the destination. However, the situation may be in difficult experience. Maybe you're coming late because you're having traffic jam. Maybe the road is under construction, for example. But right, if you are using waste, you can expedite the process. So at the end, as educators, especially when you want to touch with adults, you need to think about the technology is not everything. All right, this is just a process in helping you, especially in sharing your thought, sharing your expertise to your participant, which is your adult learners. But at the same time, the adult learners also can capture something beneficial from you and from their understanding from the another sources. So that's why we use this technology in helping them to learn, right? So you can use many things. You can use, I think, lots of the examples that you can do, right? I think this is just example. So easy for them to do the teaching and learning process effectively. And of course, it's based on their, how do you stimulate them, right? How do you stimulate them? It's based on the attention. How do you maintain the attention with your students? So sometimes you can have the interaction, do lots of interaction with them, all right? Let them make interest, creating the interest there to learn. Involve them together with the activity, all right? And this is good, something like will help them to having something like a positive experience from the session. Okay, so it will something like try to not give them bored, right? But people do not want to become bored, but they become bored. So how do you creating the situation like they are not bored, right? So do the some activities, and of course show that the adults have their serious responsibility and demand. So as a facilitator, you need to know actually what actually they demand. That's why it's very important to do the situational analysis from the expectation and from the reality. So it will help them to understand, and at the same time, we can have the strategy to stimulate the intention, right? And how affect, okay, motivates behavior. We're talking about their values, their understanding. No learning takes place in an emotional vacuum. So please, Do not creating the environment that is very emotional, very critical, because the adults, they are observe all these things, right? So we need to create that whether they are happy with the session. Meaning that learners feel something while learning emotions can motivate their behavior. Okay, and of course, it's talking about the conventional wisdom. Okay, so talking about how do we encourage them, especially to talk about the priority. All right, if there are need to do and this is urgent, do it now. All right, or maybe this is something important but not urgent. Maybe you can arrange it, you can delegate it. All right, but right, maybe you can get them to know about this is not important, this is not urgent. Maybe you can eliminate it, for example. So that's why on how you making the session more likely interactive for them, right? And of course, the learning environment is consistently influenced by the normal emotion reaction of the participants. So it's a lot of the interaction. You need to interact with them. At the same time, you give the room for them to share the opinion. Okay, this is something like will motivate them to learn, right? Okay, so may I know how many of you use this strategy? Meaning that you encourage them to participate. Maybe you want to share it. Okay, maybe Dr. Mayong, you want to share how do you do based on your experience teaching. I think you are senior one. Maybe you have a lot of experience dealing with students. So how do you encourage and motivate them to learn? Dr. Mayong, maybe here. All right, Dr. Azni, maybe you want to share something. Maybe you have an experience teaching in the schools. Okay, Dr. Azni. Or maybe Datin Aini. Thank you so much, Datin Aini. Datin Paduka, you are here, right? Thank you so much. So maybe Datin Aini, based on your experience, how do you encourage your adult learners to participate in the session? Silakan Datin.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Apa khabar?
Baik, Alhamdulillah. Thank you Datin for joining us.
Yeah, very interesting topic. I think you have discussed very well. You know what have been said about the how do you communicate with the adult learners, right?
Yeah.
It is just like how you handle your postgraduate students. To me, how you handle the postgraduate student, you always have to bring them as though they are your colleagues, your friend. Discuss with them like adults. You know, it's always making them comfortable. To me, when you are dealing with adults, not just our postgraduate students, other students as well. In fact, our colleagues, it's always that we treat them as our friend, as our colleague, that we respect their opinion as well. You know, it's not just our opinion, but also their opinion. It's very important. To me, I learn a lot from my postgraduate students. You know, I tell them things that I do not know. I tell them I do not know. Can you please find this out? And we discuss together. So we learn together. I think in that way, they will respect you, and because they know that you're telling them the truth. You do not know certain things, and let's learn together. If you do not know certain things, let's learn together. When I was holding the admin position, I didn't have much time to look at the materials. So I tell them, can you find out this journal? Can you check this? Can you check that? And you have find time to discuss about it. I think that's the way to do it. Then they will not feel, you know, they will not feel any restriction. They think that they can talk to you easily, and they'll tell you their problems or their issues, which you can help them. I think that's the best way to do it. That's the only way to talk to adult, or to make them understand, and to make them respect you. Not that we want respect, but we want them to feel free to discuss with us. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Datin Paduka and Idris. We will really appreciate your opinion. I think this is a good example shared by Prof. Datin Aini, because she has experienced more than 40 years in teaching learning. So thank you so much. I really agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I really agree, because this is very important to treat them as adults, right? So meaning that you appreciate them, and also you pay respect. At the same time, the respect will come in. It's just not to get respect from them. By example, right, you also, this is called mutual respect between you as educators. Okay, with
Yeah,
your.
very important. I think that's very important. Mutual respect is very important.
Thank you so much, Prof. This is
You're
something.
welcome.
Right. Thank you so much. Okay, we are happy because our senior here. Wow, thank you so much. I really motivates now. I become motivated to share it. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so this talking about how effect motivates behavior. All right. So basically, we're talking about the philosophy of adult education. We're back to the basic thing, right? The adult education perspective here. I don't know why it's playing like this. It's okay, never mind. I try to make it a different mode like this. Okay. Okay. So meaning that it's talking about the focus of adult education should be on the learner and not on the teachers or the content. So it seems like how do you tailor-make the content with the capacity of their understanding, based on their emotional, based on the motivation, based on the situation. So it must be in line with that. And of course, the role of adult educator is more of facilitating learning rather than teaching. So remember, you are not giving the direction, but right, you are encourage them to find the solution. You encourage them to seek the information. So at the end, they will share it to you, and at the same time, you will creating the environment that you are learn together with them. All right. And of course, the conceptualization of adult education can be further clarified by employing the subheading of purpose, learner, and approach. So meaning that it must have the clear understanding. The concept of adult education, meaning that you have the understanding with this, and also the learners also having this clear understanding on it, and you can make it the activity or the session together. All right, this is a basic adult education philosophy. And of course, this adult philosophy involved with the 3 pillars. All right, so what is the pillars here? So the pillars is start from the purpose itself. Okay, the purpose is talking about how do you meaning that bring the full personal development. All right, it's talk about their experience, about their intention to learn. At the same time, the process also need the learners. So what's something like it can contribute, okay, to them, okay, as adult learners. How they can contribute to the family, okay, the group of organizational, the committee. So this thing will be moved together. It back to the approach. Whether the approach will be like a formal, it can be non-formal, or it can be a informal setting. So meaning that the process of learning, it go beyond than the classroom. It's go beyond to the learning session. Maybe the adult learners want to get some clarification. They maybe call you later on after the session, or maybe they want to see you and discuss with you. All right. This is something like how do you embed the session? It's not, it can be a formal, just not like a non-formal. Sometimes it can be not informal. All right. This is something like the 3 pillars thing. At the end, you want to put the significant learning from the process. This is very, very important. So meaning that, let's say for this picture, right? So is it not like your PhD student Viva at the age, right? I still remember when I did my meaning that my research attachment at the University of Illinois, Champaign. I still remember I sit at the behind of the student, the old student, right? Meaning the senior students in the class. So I think I still remember is 61 years old. So I asked him, so why you pursue your master degree here? So you know what I answer? I want to put my master degree at my tombstone. Dia nak bubuh master degree dia kat batu nisan. Alright. So because this intention, alright. Kita tak boleh lah kan bubuh nama tu. Itu terkejut Tok Imam nak baca ni kan talqin. So it seems like they have the intention, alright. So in this case, let's say for example, even the golden age, you can still enjoy the technology, for example. So meaning that the adult education is designed to, of course, we want to help the adults develop the positive attitude towards learning, right? Sometimes the adult want to share something of value, all right? Maybe they have experience because of the learning platform here. They can share to others. It can be, all right? And of course, you show that your cooperative intention to help adult learn. This is very, very important. As an instructor, as a facilitator, please put your spirit, your enthusiasm, your motivation, try to cooperate this thing. All right. And sometimes it's a reflect to the language, perspective, and attitude of adult learners. It's very, very important. Okay. Sometimes maybe the language they use, maybe of the perspective they have based on their experience, they also will help. Okay, the positive attitude towards learning. Maybe you put the positive voice based on their comments. Oh, good, great. This is something that you give the negative within that feedback from their. Let's say, for example, your student give you the draft, Okay, for example, you may not say that, oh, I think this is totally wrong. You need to change this. This is a negative statement. Why not say that, oh, okay, that's good for this, to explain this. All right, how about if you go this, what you can say? So meaning that, what can you can explain about this? So meaning that you start to develop their motivation. At the same time, you encourage them to get and try to probe or try to get something like say beyond of their knowledge. So you start to meaning that open their mind to think about the value of the knowledge. So this is something like very important thing. All right, and make the first experience with the subject as a positive as possible. It's very important. Let's say for example, for the first day of class, try to create the environment that they're happy come to the class. It's a very interactive, and also you encourage them to share the view. This is something like you put the positive experience, right? And of course, you can associate the learner with other learners who are enthusiastic about the subject. You can encourage and promote the learner's personal control of the context of learning. And of course, at the end, you will create the learning environment that organized and orderly. Because the adult, they have the high expectation because they come for you because of expertise. So of course, how do you try to meaning that elaborate, okay, this thing, and how do you conceptualize this is that your learners, the other learners, easier to understand. It's very important. All right. So always, how do you encourage the adult learner? You can do the challenge to the learners, meaning that it's a challenge by choice. Let's say, for example, okay, this week I have to do the presentation. Okay, for example, I will share this. Okay, next week, why not you try to share your opinion, your opinion, your view. All right, meaning that you can be based on your lecture note. It can be from the other sources. By right, try to put your voice and give your feedback on this. So meaning that you try to encourage them to learn, meaning that you are not putting the wrong emphasis. All right, by right, you are creating the environment that they can easily to share their opinion. You create the platform, right? You create the platform in sharing their opinion. Maybe they have not opportunity looking on the platform. Let's say, for example, in the workplace, in the organization, maybe they have a limited, they have boundary to share their opinion. By right, you provide this platform in your class, so inshallah, it can be a challenge by choice. All right. And this is based on a Workowski works on the continuum model. They talk about the beginning, during, and ending of the process. So beginning, we're talking about how do we encourage the learners, adult learners, to enter the learning process. During the process, how do you involve them with the body on main content of the learning process? And at the end, of course, you want to do the sum conclusion, the summary, and something like the significant learning so that they can capture the information from the session. This is very important. And of course, you're talking about the learner's motivation, you're talking about the attitude and needs at the beginning. You need to develop and try to encourage them to have the positive attitude towards learning and try to identify what is the needs, okay, while they're attending your session at the beginning. During the process, you just stimulate them, okay? Try to approach them affect, meaning that from their value, how do they value their knowledge itself? And last but not least, at the end, to show that to what extent or maybe how far their competence and understanding on the content. And you try to reinforcement, right? Do the reinforce them. So the reinforcement is based on the how do you empower your adult learners. Basically, you can ask yourself, okay, it can be a guidance. Also, they can ask me myself, based on my experience, what can I do to establish positive learners? Need to think, what something that activity that maybe you can create the positive learning process in our learning environment. How do I best meet the needs of learners? So, especially you need to know what they want. What about the learning sequence? Okay, how is the effective experience? So meaning that how they can value the experience. How does the learning sequence increase learner competence? So meaning that after the end of the session, after the end of your course, they have the certain competency that they can get from you. All right, they know on how to do it. This is something good. And what is the reinforcement provide to the learners? So something like to what extent that you encourage them, empower them to be part in the session. All right. So this is something like maybe related with this process. So again, we're talking at the beginning, you need to tackle down about the attitude and the needs at the beginning. So attitude is talking about the, talking about the understanding about the instructor itself, talking about the scenario of the class, So maybe the norms, you create the culture and norms in your session, okay? And what time we're going to start, and what time we're going to break, and what the activity that's supposed to be fit. This is something like creating the attitude of the session. And of course, you need to know the basic needs. As I mentioned to you, the first and second week is the best time for you to identify and do the situational analysis from what they are expected and what is the current, meaning that the reality, meaning that the current capacity they have. So in between the expectation and reality, you know that's the needs that you need to fulfill. So of course, during the process, you stimulate, meaning that you want to reduce the gap, all right? And of course, you let them try to appreciate it. This is called value, okay? So what is the learning experiences that effectively or emotionally they experience from the learning? And of course, at the end of the session, you try to show them the ability to show their competence, meaning that you provide the room for them to show off their competency. And of course, it's talking about reinforcement, something like you try to empower them, okay, you value them, right? And maybe you can do some follow up, right? So what you can learn from this session, so let them to participate in the session, right? So this is called ending. So this is a step how to help adults to be self-determined learners. This is very, very important, all right? So let the session more informational rather than controlling. All right, so you can give information, at the same time they also can give some information, though you can learn together rather than controlling them. Okay, of course it's based on performance standards, so meaning that you can see their performance and try to help them if you see that they are not competent well. All right, and of course you can suggest the corrective procedures to help them, all right, and support, okay, and do self-evaluation and self-correction, encourage them that the learning process is always keep it, right, not at the end. The process will be continuously, okay. And sometimes it's a good thing that as a good instructor, you can have the prompt and frequent feedback. It's very, very important. Sometimes lebih baik kerap jumpa tapi singkat berbanding dengan jarang jumpa tapi lama. This is something on how you develop the self-determined among learners. Let's say for example, your student, right, is supervision student, okay, want to see it, meaning that they have a long time they didn't see you. But right, once you meet you, it will take a long time. So I think this will be better that you frequently meet them, but in a short time, because they can develop the self-determined of the learners, for example, right? And of course, they must be positive manner. As I said, that feedback places emphasis on improvement, progress and correctness rather than differences and mistake. Don't need to pinpoint the weaknesses. No need to pinpoint the mistake. By right, how do you counter the words? Give them some chances for improvement. That's on how you try to negotiate and explain it with your adult learners, right? And sometimes you can use the constructive criticism, okay? Meaning that, okay, this is something good. How about if you look on this, okay? Okay, this is something like you are touched down about this, and how can we explain this detail? Meaning that you have the constructive criticism, okay? Helps them adult learner to see the performance in the context and overall progress and not momentary failure. So it's looking on the how do you develop the positive situation with your adult learners, right? Okay, and always effectively praise and reward learning. Okay, always encourage and reward them. Okay, you can say the positive word. Okay, that's great. Okay, that is good. So it's something like you encourage them to learn. Okay, let's say for example, your student give the opinion. Okay, for example, you give opinion. After they finish the session, you can give the positive feedback. For example, yeah, that's good. It's a very great opinion about this. Okay, then you start to put, okay, your point of view. Okay, try maybe you want to add something information from the student said. This is something like how you create that self-determined learners. Remember, how do you put the assessment approaches, especially the question to adult learners? First of all, they have 4 levels. First of all, the level you need to create the success. So meaning that the success of the, let's say, assessment, meaning that you can easily say that, yeah, I can do. Okay, so at the first stage, they positively can complete the assessment, they can do, right? So when you go for the second level, the success must be included with the volition. So volition meaning that talking about the power of choosing, meaning that determining and decision made. For example, you can do the same assessment. Let's say, for example, you give the 5 questions. So from the first question, please select 3 out of 5. Okay, which is maybe you can relate from the with the context and reality with the context of the discussion. So meaning that you give them something like the option for them. When you go for the third level, The success can be embedded with volition. At the same time, you can put the value, what they can learn from this. All right. And of course, at the end, you can create the enjoyment. So they will feel that, oh, thank you so much because I attended your class. Now I get something from your class. So you create the enjoyment. So that is a level on how you put it, especially in during your assessment and activity with your adult learners, right? So remember, again, you need to create a positive value. It's very, very important. If they have the positive value in your session, they will think that positively, insyaAllah, they will create love. Meaning that tak sabar nak tunggu kelas, kan? Tak sabar nak tunggu kelas Dr. Mayong, for example. Kan? Tak sabar nak tunggu kelas Datin Aini, for example. So meaning that you create the love. And while they are attending to the class, they create the happiness. Okay? From the love, you can create the happiness. You still remember John Lennon, right? John Lennon, the Beatles guitarist, right? So John Lennon, when he was a kid, so his mother said about, you must be happy. Every day, you need to be happy. While he growing up, go to school, and then the teachers ask John Lennon and his friend, what are you going to be? Okay, of course I said that I want to be a, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, architect, for example. So when John Lennon said, I want to be happy. So the teacher shocked, right? So you understand my question? Of course, John Lennon said that, no, you don't understand what's the meaning of life. So especially you need to create the happiness, And of course, from that, you can create the mutual respect, like Datin Ani's experience, right, shared with us. You need to creating the respect, meaning that the mutual respect between you and the student, the adult learners, and also the learner student, the respect the us as like educators and the facilitator. This is a very, very important thing. Okay, so of course, this process, we talk about you develop the values, it's very important thing. Ethics and moral is very, very important during the process. All right. And of course, in a higher education situation, you empowering them. You will appreciate it, right? And use the technology and positively innovate and communicate and educate adults. So meaning that benda tu dia orang tak ketinggalan. So even though they are old, maybe they are the direction will be talking on the previous style, but right, you try to embed it slowly, all right, with the current things, so that they are not living away with the current needs, all right? And of course, we're talking about the contribution to the society, and last but not least is talking about humanizing education. Okay, humanizing education is about humanizing human. So kita nak menginsankan manusia, termasuk juga dengan adult learners kita, insyaAllah. So education is not the learning of the fact, but the training of the mind to think. It seems like a squirrel. Okay, macam tupai, right? Kenapa tupai? And kenapa saya guna contoh tupai? Why squirrel? Because tupai ni banyak kat UPM. Okay, because they are looking for the class, right? Dia nak register khusus tapi tak boleh masuk kelas. They are well educated tupai, right? For example, tupai nak melompat daripada dahan A ke dahan B, they want to jump up from this tree to the another tree. Dia jump higher, lompat ke atas, jump at the same part or jump lower. Based on the observation, you can see that the squirrel are tendency to jump higher. But why they jump higher? Because they know about the trajectories, 45 degree turun 30 degrees kan. Dia dah belajar projectile motion, belajar fizik kan. But the squirrel want to jump higher because they feel that if they miss this branch, they have another branch. Miss dahan ni, ada dahan lagi. Miss dahan ni, ada dahan lagi. Kalau jatuh juga, tanah tak lari. Guys, pandai-pandai tupai melompat, akhirnya jatuh ke tanah juga. Jatuh is a package deal. Jatuh ke tanah is a package deal. You know about it. So that's why when talking about adult, you need to encourage them to think higher. I still remember the motto when I was in private. You need to do your work, okay? You need to produce your effort 120 degree. If you miss that kind, you still on the path. That's the simplest way. So try to encourage your adult learners to do the best as much as they can, and they know about the reason why we try to help and expedite the process of the approach we want to encourage them. All right? So that's all about my discussion about today. Inshallah, we will have another 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, maybe you want to say something, I want to discuss it. So I open to the floors, right? I pass back to the moderator.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Maida, Dr. Murshid. Now we open for question and answer session. Maybe if you want to ask Dr. Murshid about squirrel, about the jump, everything, also can ask him.
Don't try this at home, Jangan lompat, nanti masuk berita esok.
All right, guys, I open to the floor for any question and answer.
Right, Dr. Murshid.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because to me, because in an academic setting, right, we cannot run away from evaluation.
Yeah.
So, and based on the normal distribution that you showed earlier, there will always be different types of adult learners. So there will be the, the one that is outstanding, there will be the one that is a bit slow, right? So meaning that at the end of the day, we will always have different grades. So last time, I have, one of my colleagues actually was telling me that teaching adults means that you have to be flexible all the way and give them good grades, which I disagree lah. So I'm just wondering what will be your thoughts about that.
Okay, this is good. Back to the, I think it's a good question, Dr. Dahlia. It's based on the reality examples, right? Example of reality. It's not just we try to make it easier the process. Of course, as educators, okay, we need to play a role as a process helper. We try to make a process that they are easy to understand. At the same time, they will enjoy and know about the content you want to deliver. Meaning that we not to put that all these things can be easier. No, meaning that you need to make it easier on the process. It's very, very important, right? And of course, as adult learners, maybe you need to reward them. We're not just giving the good marks. It must be based on their performance. It must be based on their competency. But right, in between of the process, you can know that how do you try to encourage them to try to perform as much as they can. Right? Like a tupai, try to make to see the features and try to let them to jump higher. So in this process, you know that the competency of the student, or at the end, you can do the assessment. And of course, the assessment as academia, we need to do assessment, very professional assessment. And of course, just not to give in the best mark, but right, it's talk about the process. We're talking about an A, actually, we can put an A. Okay, at the beginning of the session, we can make A, no problem. A is just the alphabet. But right, to what extent the significance of learning they can get from our class. That is my point of view. Thank you so much, Dr. Dahlia. It's a good question.
Thank
right?
you, Dr. Murshid.
Thank you, doctors. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between adult students and advanced undergraduate students, let's say year 3 or year 4 students, on how to educate them?
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Khairul Azhar. Okay, the meaning that is based on the approach, right? Of course, we're talking about when dealing with undergraduate students, of course, mostly they are young, right? So when talking about the young people, talking about the youth, their concept and philosophy will be different. This is called youth adult partnership, right? So how do you try to encourage your young people, your youth young people with you as an adult and try to communicate and make the process of development of the individual asset and the ecological asset. So individual assets meaning that you highlighted what something like content based on activity, based on assessment. So they will learn something from that. And at the same time, you give them opportunity. So you try to help them and creating the opportunity for them rather than adults. They have the platform, they have the opportunity, they have access. By right, how do you facilitate them to do the appropriate things, meaning that do the right way, or maybe something like more effective? That's the difference between undergraduate student is more on the youth adult partnership process. Okay, you're encouraging them to develop their individual asset and the ecological asset. Okay, their external, internal, and external capacity. Rather than the adults, you facilitate how do they enhance their capacity beyond that. So meaning that this is a process that more on the facilitating and more on the how do we appreciate their work and they try to get something from their significant learning from their session. That's the difference between undergraduate process and how do we deal with the adult learners.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Murshid. Any other questions? It's a very interesting topic, actually, Dr. Murshid. That's why they ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I actually am happy to have this question. I know that some of you are maybe they have experience. Thank you so much for attending this. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but we sharing together. And also I learn from your question and from your opinion, right? Thank you so much to give the commitment for this session.
All right, so I think there are no more questions. So thank you so much, Dr. Murshid, and to all of the supportive audience for your remarkable knowledge sharing. I consider myself actually lucky to have had this opportunity to attend this webinar session. All right, and then with that, I think that will be the end of our learning session. I would also thank to CADe for organizing this online session. And also, most importantly, I would like to say thank you to all of the participants today. You're also awesome. Hopefully, the content, the knowledge, and the experience that have been shared by Professor Madya Dr. Murshid will benefit us in improving our methods to engage with the adult learners. All right. So thank you all. Stay safe and take care.
Saya mohon maaf kalau ada salah dan silap apa yang baik Allah SWT. Yang buruk tu datang daripada Dr. Faik. Tak, daripada kelemahan saya. Daripada kelemahan saya. InsyaAllah kita jumpa lagi. Stay safe, selamat
ada durian session
ya, durian session.
Thank you.
Alright, thank you so much.
Happy Ramadan Karim to all of you.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Murshid.
Yeah, most welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for supporting CADe.
Thank you so much, Kate, for giving us the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much, Datin Aini. Thank you so much. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Tahniah, bagus.
Terima kasih, Datin. Semoga Datin sihat ya. Selamat menyambut Ramadan, Datin. Assalamualaikum.
Ambil gambar sikit.
Boleh ambil gambar, Datin. Screen. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Kalau makan boleh.